Powerful storms hitting the Pacific Northwest have left behind a whole lot of damage tonight. Tens of thousands of people waiting still for the lights to come back on.
When you have heavily saturated root systems and you get high winds, we're just going to see a lot of these big trees uproot, unfortunately.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Downed trees, power outages, and many schools forced to close. People all across Washington and Oregon dealing with a variety of issues after the latest round of severe weather. Strong winds took down many trees, forcing a number of road closures. And in at least one case, a small fire started when arcing power lines came into contact with some tree limbs. The windy conditions calmed down by this afternoon. Here is a live look tonight at downtown Seattle. It's still cloudy in this area, but the skies are starting to clear now. Fox 13's Lauren Donovan took a drive to see how people in some of the surrounding communities are coping.
Lauren Donovan here. We are on the road as we've been all day, traipsing between Edmonds to North Bend, where we are now, an area that has been without power. 5,000 plus PSE customers since the high winds hit last night. Check this out. So we're driving through the downtown area. This isn't even the most impacted part of North Bend. It's really the east side of town as you get closer to the mountains. But stoplights are out here, so everyone's kind of navigating it slowly. We know there's a number of trees that are the cause of this throughout the North Bend area. PSE was saying, hey, the more rural, the more wooded communities with all those trees are seriously impacted. Now, if we look out here in our roof cam, you can see some folks within the city of North Bend. Appears they're definitely trying to bring the lights back on. They're doing some work here in the downtown area impacted by the storm last night. And according to PSE, they told me, hey, at the height of the storm last night, there was 109,000 customers throughout the region without power. And they think they've made significant leaps and bounds. They say the hardest hit areas are for sure Kitsap County, specifically folks living on Bainbridge, and then another island community, Vashon, was hit hard. We know they've had crews on Mercer Island today. These crews are like about 3 to 4, some of them with bucket trucks, and a lot of the power lines went down last night, so they've got to do pole replacement. So if it's not just a tree layering onto a line, you know, they've got to actually like bring in new infrastructure. So that's a lot of work for PSE folks. So we've been tracking the conditions. It looks like thousands more customers have gotten their lights back on, but schools are still closed throughout the day. But it appears, I think things will be under control and well on their way in terms of electricity by tomorrow. So that's all we've got for you from North Bend for now. Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
All right, a whole lot of problems in western Washington, and that same storm system also left behind a mess in some parts of Oregon. Strong winds whipped through neighborhoods near Portland, knocking down dozens of large trees. One oak tree that came down was tall enough that it spanned the length of 2 backyards at 2 different homes. Fortunately, no one was hurt.
Just heard a crack, and I think one of the bigger branches sort of split and sort of pulled it. It was always leaning in a little bit and came all the way down. I just saw it come down. The thud on the ground wasn't too bad. My son and I and some of the neighbors helped build the fence in the last year or so. So I was like, oh, guess got to build it again.
And this morning, crews responded clearing debris after a tree fell on a library east of Portland. Another one came down on a home south of the city. Thankfully, though, there were no reports of any injuries with those downed trees. It is likely going to take days, though, to clear all of the downed trees across the Portland area. The cranes needed to do much of that work are booked up all throughout the end of this week. They are in high demand. In the mountains, these storms brought wind and snow. The strong gusts had flags flapping on Mount Hood this afternoon, and new snowfall covered the roads. For more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Rosemary Orozco, who is tracking a mixed bag of weather all across the West tonight. And Rosemary, if you go south, we are seeing unusually warm weather.
You're right. Temperatures well into the 80s over the desert Southwest, Alex. Here's a view over Seattle, Washington this afternoon, where Alex mentioned finally the wet weather beginning to move out of the Pacific Northwest, and the winds have died down as well. Seattle this afternoon, 50 degrees. Here's a look at the satellite and radar. Just a little bit left here. Most of the advisories allowed to expire. We do have some for wind and a high surf advisory over parts of the coastline, including the Bay Area. So even though the Bay Area not in the way of this wet weather, that storm generating that large northwest swell, bringing hazardous conditions to parts of the coast. When it comes to advisories, we have just a couple moving in a little bit closer on the west edge of Washington here. A flood watch that goes until 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon for low-lying flooding, and then over towards the east just a little bit where we have in areas of Idaho still a winter weather advisory until later this evening for travel there as the snow continues to wind down. The west coast forecast when it comes to the futurecast tomorrow morning, the timestamp here, 6 a.m. and we do still have a lot of cloud cover overhead, but you can see the west is getting a break where we are dry. This storm here likely to come ashore but break apart as it does. Cutoff low heads south, and it looks like we will escape most of the wet weather there, but more is on the way for the weekend. When it comes to California, enjoying spring-like weather, fog along the coastline and afternoon highs well above average. Los Angeles today came in at 77 during the afternoon, and areas over the desert Southwest, as we talked about, 90 degrees in Phoenix today. So near record-breaking heat here. Temperatures will begin to cool but still be very warm over Phoenix as we head into the coming days. You can see upper 80s for tomorrow, followed by mid 80s there. Meanwhile, state of California continuing to enjoy spring-like weather, at least for now. Upper 60s for tomorrow in San Francisco. By Friday, temperatures do begin to cool and scatter showers in the forecast for Northern California all the way into the Bay Area. It looks like for the weekend, in addition to Sierra snow, back into the Pacific Northwest, and temperatures will remain cool with dry conditions for tomorrow. Alex?
All right, Rosemary, thank you. Today, a federal judge in Seattle blocked President Trump's order to halt the country's refugee resettlement program. Fox 13's Alejandro Guzman reports tonight that the judge ruled the president cannot nullify laws that have been passed by Congress.
This is not merely a political issue. It is a question of humanity, justice, and fundamental value that define America.
On day one, Trump signed an executive order pausing refugee admissions into the U.S., claiming the country has been inundated with record levels of migration. The Department of Justice argued the Refugee Act grants Trump the authority to set the number of refugees annually, even reducing it to zero without explanation.
This administration is trying to dismantle the entire refugee resettlement infrastructure to ensure that the U.S. is not resettling refugees long into the future.
Local refugee-serving agencies say the order has caused chaos, leaving people, would-be immigrants, already vetted, stranded.
We know of tragic stories where people have sold everything and then they had a plane ticket and they were just told not to come.
The Lutheran Community Services of the Northwest says they have helped resettle 370 refugees just within 90 days of the stop work order it and other agencies received. Their CEO says lack of funding has forced them to lay off employees.
This was an abrupt halt. It was a very inhumane act. It really was. Just to say, no, don't settle, don't work with these people. We already made a promise. We broke that promise to them. At least the government did.
We've been here before, though. In 2017, Trump signed 3 executive orders against refugees.
I was almost one of the people who were waiting in 2017. And even being almost part of the people who are waiting is nerve-wracking because you've waited 17 years.
Today, Judge Whitehead blocked Trump's order, saying he has crossed the line from permissible discretionary action to effective nullification of congressional will.
The million-dollar question is when will we start funding this program again, and when will refugees be welcome?
And that was Fox 13's Alejandro Guzman reporting tonight. The Justice Department says it's now considering whether to file an emergency appeal in that case. In Washington, the Tacoma School District is among several in the state defying President Trump's executive order banning transgender athletes from girls' sports. The district says there are fewer than 10 transgender athletes among the 250,000 in the state. And district leaders say the president's executive order contradicts Washington's anti-discrimination laws in schools.
Our state laws make clear that students get to identify and participate in activities based on the gender in which they identify.
The Washington Interscholastic Activities Association supports the president's executive order and says it's now looking to create another division outside boys and girls leagues where transgender athletes can compete. We turn now to a developing story that people are closely following around the world and, of course, here in the West. The U.S. and Ukraine have reached a tentative agreement on a deal that would include access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Ukrainian leaders say the country is hoping this deal will ensure continued military support that Ukraine needs. The deal includes a fund owned by both Ukraine and the U.S., where Ukraine would contribute half of proceeds from state-owned resources, including minerals and oils. It doesn't have any security guarantees for Ukraine, though. Leaders say that is something President Zelensky and President Trump would discuss when they meet to sign that deal, and that could be as soon as this Friday. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, a series of heists targeting trains as they travel through the desert Southwest, with thieves making off with rare and high-end sneakers. Tonight, a security expert offers insight on these elaborate heists that are costing companies millions of dollars. Plus, Arizona's governor rolls out a new plan to try to address issues at the southern border. We have the details on this partnership that she's forming for what's being known as Operation Desert Guardian. And tonight, new technology gets personal. See the emotional support robots that are being shown off here in the West.
The future of robots looks bright.
The skin looks real. We have wrinkles. I mean, this guy even has hair coming out of his nose. We want it to be able to be someone's friend.
Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs has signed an executive order to create a border task force. The order is called Operation Desert Guardian. It calls for a task force in partnership with local law enforcement agencies and the federal government. Hobbs says the goal is to stop criminal organizations from other countries from operating in those border counties, Yuma, Pima, Santa Cruz, and Cochise counties. Money to uphold the order will come from a portion of the state's $28 million border security fund. We turn now to a string of daring heists targeting freight trains running through the deserts of California and Arizona. There have been at least 10 thefts over the past year, and authorities say all told, the thieves have stolen more than $2 million worth of Nike sneakers, including some rare and unreleased Air Jordans. Many of these thefts have happened in rural areas on rail lines that run along Interstate 40 through the Mojave Desert. Authorities have made several arrests using tracking devices hidden in the stolen merchandise. To better understand how these complex theft rings are operating, I talked earlier with Keith Lewis, the Vice President of Operations at Verisk's Cargo Net, which helps companies prevent these types of crimes.
Any type of tactic that they can use, and one of the most common is cutting a brake line on a train. And if they can cut the brake line, it may take that train a few miles or more, depending on the speed, to stop. They can either jump on that train or jump on one of the trains that are behind that train on the line and break into that.
What I'm wondering is, how do these thieves know what kind of merchandise is on board those trains? How do they know what they're after?
It could be somebody on the inside tipping them off. It could be they get on the train and they jump around and they look for that particular type of seal, or they have an idea of where that container is on the train. And I've worked these as a retired law enforcement officer. I've worked these train thefts, and I found, dozens of them opened till they find the one they're looking for.
What other security measures do you think could be implemented to try to deter and prevent thefts like this moving forward?
Well, that's a good question. The problem we run into is the reverse logistics on the telematics, on the GPS. If they use some very complex locking devices on the container trailer, there's a cost associated with that. But remember, we want to be to the left of bang. We don't want to be post theft. We want to prevent it on the front end. So the best way to do that is a secure locking device on the back of the trailer, a lock on both doors, some type of clamp lock that clamps the door shut. But again, we're adding cost and time to the supply chain.
And that's the issue. The nation's largest railroads lost more than $100 million worth of merchandise last year because of thefts like those. And Lewis says ultimately these crimes leave consumers paying more for goods. Now, in one of those recent theft cases in the desert Southwest, authorities did arrest and charge 11 people for stealing those sneakers. Authorities say 10 of them are Mexican citizens who were here in the U.S. illegally.
Excuse me, Sheriff Norris. This gentleman is assaulting me.
You out
this
now.
Man is assaulting
you out
me.
now. Let's go.
This man is assaulting me.
We have an update for you tonight on this tense confrontation at a town hall meeting in Idaho. We showed it to you last night. Critics now say the sheriff who was caught on camera ordering a woman to leave the event is a former Los Angeles County Sheriff's lieutenant who's collecting disability pay. That video showing a woman being forcibly removed from the town hall event is getting a lot of attention on social media. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez has been digging into what critics are saying about Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris.
Get up or be arrested.
Video of Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris threatening to arrest Teresa Borenpol for her loud, out-of-turn comments during a town hall meeting in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Arrested for what?
Now, one of those voices is this woman's who was sitting by Borenpol.
There were people standing up. There were people shouting. I don't know why he went after her, and she was sitting in her seat.
The sheriff tries to physically remove her, which is being questioned in posts all over social media because Norris, a retired LA County lieutenant, is listed on the Transparent California website, drawing a retirement from LA County, which does include more than $150,000 in disability.
Just talk for on and on and on.
Sheriff Norris eventually asks two men to remove the woman.
We were saying things like, who are these men? She's being assaulted.
The men helped Sheriff Norris remove Borenpol, never answering questions from onlookers.
What authority?
The Coeur d'Alene Police Department tells Fox 11 they're investigating the incident, saying they recognize the right to free speech. They also confirmed the two men helping Sheriff Norris are not cops from their department. They work for a California security company, and that, quote, the business license for Lear Asset Management has been revoked for violating Coeur d'Alene city ordinances regarding security agencies and agents.
It's really, really upsetting. That's the most upsetting to me, and that they felt like they could just behave in any way and there was not going to be any consequences.
Now, we did reach out to the county's Employee Retirement Association. They say they can't speak to this case specifically, but that generally they grant disability benefits only after getting medical confirmation that someone is disabled or incapacitated. No comment from Sheriff Norris. We did reach out to him and to the security company. Not hearing from them. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Christina Gonzalez, Fox 11 News.
Prosecutors say the man charged in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students shouldn't be allowed to offer an alibi unless he takes the stand himself. Brian Koberger is facing 4 counts of murder for the 2022 stabbings. His lawyers filed a document last year saying Koberger was out driving when those murders took place. Now prosecutors say the document doesn't specify enough details and that it failed to meet disclosure deadlines. Attorneys on both sides have continuously disagreed on what should be allowed in this complicated trial, which is set to get underway August 11th. A Denver family says body camera images show how they were traumatized when SWAT team members entered the wrong apartment. The images are included in a lawsuit filed by Christy Shelton today. Shelton says SWAT team members entered her apartment with guns drawn in 2023 after she informed them that they had the wrong unit. She also says everyone in the apartment, including 2 children, were moved to a locked police car as the SWAT team searched for a suspect. The Denver Police Department has not commented on the suit. In its after-action report on the raid, the department indicated the family was, quote, advised of the situation and evacuated for their own safety. Shelton is now seeking unspecified damages for what she calls the use of excessive force and unreasonable seizure and search. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, taking our relationship with robots one step further. The demonstrations here in the West as companies are showing off robots that they hope will improve our mental well-being. A complete makeover could be on the way for the Circus Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip. Real estate mogul Phil Ruffin says he's ready to sell the property. He estimates the 102 acres are worth about $5 million, worth about $5 billion, calling the property the best piece of land on the West Coast in an interview with Forbes. It's unclear when a sale could be coming, but Ruffin said there has been high interest in the property, although he has not said who the potential buyers could be. Well, we already have robots that perform a variety of tasks in our lives, but maybe they could also keep us company. Fox's Sunny Sai shows us how emotional support robots are being shown off in Las Vegas.
As human as Aria may look next to me here, she is actually a customizable robot. You can change anything from her outfit to her accent to her face. Robots these days can complete many tasks, including laundry and serving people food. But now, some companies are ready to take that human-robot relationship one step further.
The future of robots looks bright, with advancements in AI and customization leading to more interactive and supportive companions for various aspects of life.
Aria is a customizable human-like robot. Users can pick Aria's physical features and
create a backstory, create where they're from, what their likes and dislikes are, whether they're shy or outgoing, whether they're educated or not.
And now, Melody, the newest robotics robot, can travel with you and recognize objects.
So think of it almost like Lego pieces that can be put together, put into a suitcase, and you can travel with them. She'll be able to look at you and recognize humans, but also recognize if you're eating an apple, she'll be able to recognize what you're eating or what you're holding.
Robotics says their robots are the most lifelike ones available today.
The skin looks real, we have wrinkles. I mean, this guy even has hair coming out of his nose. We want it to be able to be someone's friend, boyfriend or girlfriend. We're even building in the ability for it to be romantic with someone. I think we have the most realistic robots on the planet right now.
Across the globe, one company in Japan is creating a way smaller robot focused on emotional support. Romi is an emotional support robot that also uses AI to connect with its users.
1日声を発さずに終える方も多い中で、ロミーから話しかけてくることもあるので、ロミーが朝起きた時におはようって声をかけて一日が始まる。
Romi recognizes faces and has long-term memory, allowing it to build a relationship with its user.
次の新しいモデルがリリースする時には、長期的な記憶を維持することができるので、日々のオーナーとのエピソード的な思い出を個別に蓄積していくことで、オーナーにごとにまた違った会話体験を提供できるようになっていけます。
Romi's become popular in Japan as a way to help ease the country's loneliness epidemic. In Las Vegas, Sunny Sai, Fox News.
Okay, that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching, as always, and a quick reminder before we go here that you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're covering for you across the West Coast by heading to our website. It's westcoastwrap.com. You can also stream all of our shows on your smart TV by downloading the free Fox Local app. A live look here at downtown Seattle tonight where things are clearing up after those big storms. Have a great night.